Secretary, General Dempsey, Mr. Hale, thank you all so much for being here today, and thanks so much for your service to our country. I support your call for a BRAC, or Base Realignment and Closure Commission, if in fact we've restructured our forces and we can exact some efficiencies, some cost efficiencies from closing bases we no longer need. However, what I would like is a commitment to look at overseas bases, which are not a part of the Base Realignment and Closure Commission process, where we only look at bases within the United States out of fairness. I think we can accomplish a lot of our goals, whether it's our 28,000 troops in South Korea or 79,000 troops still in Europe, through joint military exercises, through rotational forces, as opposed to overseas permanent military bases. And so, Mr. Secretary, I wonder if you might be able to address that.
Thank you, and I agree with you. We are currently undertaking a review, and have been, on that very issue, our bases overseas. Overhead, do we need them? Can we consolidate them? Everything you said, we're doing, and that's exactly right. To your point about allies and how we bring value to those relationships, so we don't have to carry that kind of overhead. You're exactly right, and that's what we're doing. I mentioned some of this in my speech at NDU. I mentioned a couple of these things in my opening statement this morning. But long before I got there, Gates was talking about, Panetta was talking about, General Dempsey's been talking about agility, flexibility, capability. And it must factor in our relationships with our allies. That's why I responded the way I did to the NATO question this morning, and what we're doing with the French in Mali, what we're doing with our other allies around the globe, trying to help them build capacity for themselves, so that we have some partners with some capability.
Thank you. I know you talked about compensation for our personnel, and what I would like is a consideration with a greater emphasis. Having had a military career where I deployed 5 times overseas, 4 times with the ground combat units, and then 1 time as a civil affairs officer, that it seems that I don't think there's enough emphasis in terms of compensation for our deployed forces versus our forces who are in CONUS, certainly doing a great job. But I think in terms of things like hazardous duty pay and things like that, maybe we ought to look at increasing those as opposed to simply the across-the-board type of increases that we do. General Dempsey, I wonder if you might be able to address that.
Yeah, if I could, Congressman, I'd also like to comment, since I have the mic open, on the issue of forward presence, rotational deployments, and what we call surge capability back in the homeland. We need to balance that out. I mean, I don't think you would ever suggest we shouldn't have some forces forward present, because they have an incredibly stabilizing effect. And so we don't want to become sanctuary America. We have to be out and about. The question is how much forward present, how much rotational. To your point about compensation, we're looking at every possible aspect of compensation. You're talking about special pays for those in this case. Could be special pays for doctors or aviators. We're looking at the entire spectrum of compensation issues.
Certainly for those that are forward deployed, particularly in Afghanistan today. Let me just mention one last point, and that is that again, along the cost side, in terms of maybe taking a look at slowing down the promotion system. We have this up and out process today, but retention as high as it is, I'm concerned that we're forcing out people that are good performers and have a lot of experience, and so and I think that I think we ought to take a look at slowing down that promotion system and allowing people to have more time in their particularly respective grades, as opposed to the system that we have now that I think is fairly rapid in its advancement. And either one of you can answer that.
Yeah, if I could, because I spent some time as the Chief of Staff of the Army, as you know. We allowed promotion rates to be artificially accelerated because we were trying to grow the Army so fast. We grew it by 60,000 over about a 3 or 4 year period. promotion rates to lieutenant colonel and major, 95 and 90%, much higher than you'd want them to be as a profession. And so we are ratcheting those back, as well as changing retention control points. But what you just suggested is competing with the reality that we've got to reduce the size of the force by 100,000. So I'll take your points to heart, as I always do, but there are some competing narratives that we've got to reconcile.
Mr. Chairman, I yield
Gallego.
back.
Thank you.